Hello class, today we're looking at 6-2, area of a parallelogram on page 223. In today's lesson, you'll find the area of a parallelogram and relate the perimeter and area of the height of the parallelogram and the base of the parallelogram. First thing we need to know is, what is a parallelogram? A parallelogram is a four-sided figure with two sides that are parallel. That's as good as I'm going to get for drawing a parallelogram with these tools. So this line and this line are parallel. This line and this line are parallel. A parallelogram. Whew, that's hard to say. Okay, so the floor plan of the building at the right is in the shape of a parallelogram. You can calculate the area of the parallelogram to determine how much office space is available on a given floor of the building. The height of a parallelogram is the length of a perpendicular segment connecting one base of a parallelogram to the other. So this is looking at the perpendicular segment, and here's the base, and it's connecting that base to this base. So the height of the parallelogram is going to be this one, height, and the base of the parallelogram we are looking at are going to be these green lines, base of the parallelogram. The diagram below relates the formula for the area of a rectangle to the formula of the area of a parallelogram. So if we were to take this right here and connect it to this, it really is going to form the shape of a rectangle. And so that's what this is showing you here. The area of the rectangle is length times width. Length times width. So if we disconnected that rectangle, and that's what it's doing right here, and put it over to the other side, it creates a parallelogram. But basically the same thing needs to happen to get the area. But for a parallelogram, it's the base times the height. But you can see that just by putting these in different spots, it's really the same as the area of a rectangle. So the key concept, the area of a parallelogram. The area of a parallelogram is equal to the product of any base and the corresponding height. Base, height, product. Product means multiplication. So area equals base times height. That's what you need to know. Now let's look at an example. Finding the area of a parallelogram. Here we have our parallelogram. The height is 15 inches. The base is 9 inches. We plug those numbers into the equation. Area equals base times height. That equals 9 times 15. When you multiply 9 times 15, you get 135. Therefore, the area is 135 inches squared. Adding inches squared or whatever sort of measurement is important. Find the area of this parallelogram. Go ahead and press pause and see if you can figure that one out yourself. Okay, so hopefully you came up with the area equals the base times the height. So the base is going to be 9 centimeters. The height is 10. Multiply those together, you get 90. We're looking at centimeters, centimeters squared. Let's look at this next example together. Melinda wants to plant a rectangular garden and put a fence around it. She has 34 feet of fencing and she wants the area of her garden to be as big as possible. Which dimensions should she use? The length of 9 feet and the width of 8 feet, the length of 10 feet and the width of 7 feet, length of 12 feet and width of 9 feet, length of 14 feet and width of 5 feet. If you look, we are going to, so since all answer choices give the length and the width, you can calculate both the perimeter, which is 2 times the length, plus 2 times the width, and the area, the length, times the width. So we're just going to draw here. Okay, so for the first one, 9 feet by 8 feet, we see that the perimeter is 34 and the area equals 72. The second one, 2 times 10 is 20, plus 2 times 7 equals 14. That's going to equal 34, so that's great because that's how many feet she has possible. 10 times 7 equals 70. Ooh, so we can already see that this first one is bigger than the second one. C, the length of 12 feet and the width of 6 feet. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2 times 6 is 12 equals 36. Excuse me. She does not have 36 feet of fencing. She only has 34. So that's not going to work. And the last one, 2 times 14 is 28, plus 2 times 5 is 10 equals 38. Once again, 38 is bigger than 34. She only has 34 feet worth of fencing, so that's not going to work. So looking at the first two, we've already decided that 9 feet by 8 feet gives her more area. So the rectangle with the length of 9 feet and the width of 8 feet will have the correct perimeter and the greatest area. The answer is A. So now let's do a quick check. What is the perimeter of the rectangle? Please find the perimeter of this rectangle right here beside it. Press pause and come back to me when you have an answer. Okay, so we know that the perimeter is when we are going to be adding all the sides together. Or you could do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width equals the perimeter. Well, they gave us the area and not the side, so we need to know what this side equals. So to do that, we know the area is 5, the height, times the length. So 5 times the length equals 30. To solve this, we're going to divide each side by 5. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Therefore, the length is 6. So if we take those and plug it into this equation that we have here, we now have 2 times the length, which is 6, plus 2 times the width, which is 5. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 2 times 5 is 10. 12 plus 10 equals 22 centimeters. Notice with perimeter, it's not squared. Area is the only one that has centimeters squared. So looking at checking your understanding on page 225, number 1, the vocabulary says, what kind of angle is formed by perpendicular lines? These are perpendicular lines. What angle is formed? That's going to be a right angle. A right angle. Okay. True or false? The two parallelograms must be congruent. Must be congruent. That means that they are going to be like this. That says that they are congruent. So a parallelogram, we decided, really could be more like this, because it just has to be that these lines are parallel and these lines are parallel. So therefore, number 2, the two parallelograms must be congruent. That's going to be false. The areas of two parallelograms are equal. This is true as long as both the base and the height are equal. So if both of these parallelograms have the same base, oh sorry, that was the height, same base and the same height, they are equal. So that's going to be true. Okay, for your homework assignment, what I would like you to do is numbers 4 through 16. When you complete that, please take a picture of your work and text it to me. I hope you have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions.